Hi guys, I am Mia Bethany from Facts Factory. Today we are going to see the second episode of the BLEEDS series, Season 1. The Colonial Parkway Murders were the slayings of at least 8 people apparently by a serial killer along the Colonial Parkway of the US Commonwealth of Virginia between 1986 and 1989. During that time, 3 couples were murdered and 1 couple is missing and pre-assumed to be dead. The killer has not been identified. The first recorded murders associated with this case took place on the night of October 9, 1986. On that date, 21-year-old Rebecca Ann Dowski and 27-year-old Cathleen Thomas spent most of their time together at a computer lab with friends. At some point during the night, the two left the lab in order to find a more private environment. For 3 days, the women were considered missing. Then, on October 12, a jogger enjoying some exercise along the York River spotted a white 1980 Honda Civic. The car belonged to Thomas. Inside the car, the jogger saw the gruesome sight of 2 corpses, Dowski and Thomas, that had been strangled and mutilated. A subsequent autopsy report on Dowski and Thomas found that both women were strangled, had their wrists bound with rope, and had their throats slit. The autopsy also found that the killer of killers had poured gasoline on the bodies in an attempt to burn away evidence. Neither had been sexually assaulted, and given that their purses were found in the car, Virginia investigators ruled out robbery as a motive. David Knobling, 20 years old, and Robin Edwards, age 14, were last seen alive on September 19, 1987. This disappearance came less than a year after the disappearance and murder of Thomas and Dowski, and just like in that earlier case, the discovery of Knobling and Edwards came about thanks to someone finding Knobling's abandoned vehicle. This time, it was a black Ford Ranger and it was found inside the Ragged Island Wildlife Refuge. The truck was found with its driver's side door open and its radio on, and it still had the keys in the ignition. 3 days after this discovery, on September 23rd, a jogger was enjoying the marshland near the James River. The jogger Louis Ford just stood 1.6 kilometers from the refuge parking lot, and there, in a grassland path, he found the bodies of Knobling and Edwards. Edwards had been shot in the back of the head execution style. Knobling had also been shot in the head, but he also had a bullet wound in his shoulder. The second wound suggested that Knobling had tried to flee his attacker or attackers. On April 9, 1988, Cassandra Lee Haley and Richard Keith Call went on their very first date together. What happened next remains a mystery. For the next day, Call's abandoned vehicle was found on the Colonial Parkway. The car in question was a red Toyota Kelly car, and it was discovered a mere 5 kilometers from where the bodies of Knobling and Edwards were found by the jogger Ford. Inside the car, investigators found Call's wallet on the dashboard and the vehicle's driver's side door open. The glove box was also found open, and like the first double murder, Haley's purse was found in plain sight. To this day, there is no consensus on whether or not Haley and Call were murdered. That being said, it is very likely that the pair were executed by someone, as their corpses have never been discovered. All that is known at this time is that Call and Haley were last seen alive at approximately 1:30 a.m. at a party in Newport News, Virginia, and that nearly all of the clothes that Call and Haley were wearing that day were found in Kellica. It is suspected that 18-year-old Anna Maria Phelps and 21-year-old Daniel Lore knew each other on a very intimate level. This was scandalous because in 1989, Anna Maria was dating Daniel's brother Clint. Anna Maria and Daniel both went missing on October 5, 1989. Their bodies would not be found until hunters stumbled across them on October 19. Anna Maria and Daniel were found on a secluded logging road near Interstate 64 in New Kent County. Daniel's gold 1972 Chevy Nova was found facing northbound, which would have been the wrong direction given that the couple was reportedly headed toward Virginia Beach when they disappeared. Given the time between the murder and the discovery of the bodies, a cause of death could not be determined due to decomposition of both corpses. However, the murder of Phelps and Lohr did bear some similarities to the other Colonial Parkway murders. For instance, Anna Maria's purse and the couple's clothing were found in Lohr's car. Also, there appeared to be no signs of sexual assault, although an autopsy did find knife marks on Anna Maria's bones. The police attribute these 8 murders to the same killer because of similarities in each case. All the victims were killed at or near their car, the first 3 being found at Lovers Lane areas. None of the victims were robbed, and sexually assaulted did not appear to be the motive in any of the cases. The first and third murders were mere miles apart, and the second and fourth were committed about a half hour away from the parkway. However, some do not think these murders were the work of a serial killer, but rather by at least 2 or more separate killers. The differences in killing methods is something that is often pointed at, as Kathy and Rebecca were strangled and then had their throats slit. David and Robin were shot, and Anna Maria and Daniel were presumably stabbed. Detective Steve Spingola was asked to investigate the Colonial Parkway murders as a private investigator. Spingola believes that the murders of Kathy and Rebecca are not related to the other murders at all and are, in fact, connected to another double homicide that occurred in Shenandoah National Park in 1996. Young couple Julie Williams, 24, and Lolly Willens, 26, were camping in the park over Memorial Day weekend. When they did not return home, they were reported missing. Their bodies were found on June 1st. They had been bound and gagged similarly to Kathy and Rebecca, and their throats had also been slit. Spingola believes that the 2 sets of murders were hate crimes committed by the same perpetrator. Despite theories that the crimes may not be connected, many still believe that the Colonial Parkway murders were the work of a serial killer. Over the years, police have questioned 150 suspects in connection to these 4 cases, but all have been cleared. In 2018, the Facebook page Colonial Parkway Murders, which is run by Kathy's brother Bill Thomas, revealed that DNA had been found at 3 of the 4 crime scenes, which could potentially conclusively link the cases and lead to an arrest. Hair that had been found in Kathy's hand and a biological sample found on Robin have never been tested, but with advances in DNA technology and resources like GED match, the families of the victims are hopeful they will finally get the answers.